Amateur football in New South Wales has a problem. In the last 2 years, 12 players have died from heart-related incidents on the football field. On June the 5th, 2014, Forest Rangers player Matthew Richardson had already played 90 minutes of football against Hurstville Zagreb when the 43-year-old put his hand up to play a further game. His teammate Andy Paschalids also joined him.
Line Matt collapsed. Play continued up the other end, and we knew something was horribly wrong. First thoughts was that he swallowed his tongue. That was what we thought, but then we realised it was far more serious than that. And without a defib, without the tools in place, we found out later that at hospital he was declared dead.
On June the 7th, 2014, only 2 days after Matthew Richardson's sudden death, 45-year-old John Annis also collapsed on the field and died. He too had suffered a cardiac arrest.
He was my teammate, and it happened right in front of my eyes. It was 4 or 5 metres away. I just couldn't believe it. He's gone for a run down the sideline, and then he stopped, and all of a sudden he's just hit the ground. And it was just an incredible experience. Ambulance coming on the park and people trying to revive him. It was just unbelievable.
Andy Paschalids reports.
Well, I fancy myself as a bit of a goalkeeper, but now I'm starting to get cold feet because I'm going to try and save a few against the world champion Willie Hoffman. Let's see how I go. I'm not looking forward to this.
Andy Paschalids is a soccer commentator for the Indian Super League on Star TV. He loves soccer. He spent almost 20 years as a commentator and journalist for both SBS and Fox Sports. He is a well-loved figure in the soccer community, and after the death of his Forest Rangers teammate, Andy Paschalids decided that he had enough. That's why he set up Heartbeat of Football. It's a foundation that aims to have a defibrillator at every sporting venue in Australia.
With a defib, your chance obviously of survival goes from with CPR 2.5 to 5%, with a defib, depending on your issues, up to 70%. So it's incredible how much of a difference.
Looking back to what happened with your teammate, how much of an impact do you think that would have had if there was a defibrillator?
Well, that's the first thing that we asked on that day, because some people knew about defibrillators. Where is the defibrillator? And there wasn't a defibrillator. So if there was a defibrillator, it could have saved his life. I mean, we don't know, but like the stats say, 60% of cases would save people's lives. So if this bloke, if there was one available for him, he could have been alive today.
Since Heartbeat of Football began their mission, the Canterbury and St George associations have rolled out defibrillators at all their grounds. And history was recently made when the Zap stand was unveiled by record-breaking Socceroo goal scorer Tim Cahill.
Unveiled the first 24/7 defibrillator at a sporting ground that's here for the whole community. I want to thank the New South Wales Government. This is the first of the pilots. This is the one that we want to go out to every sporting ground in New South Wales and across the country.
Firstly, the work that Andy's put behind this is unbelievable. I've known him my whole life. I played at Patrick Park. I played a lot of local clubs around here. And, this has been a personal thing where, we've lost close friends that played at Velma Hercules together. It's a massive issue. The main issue with this is we don't want people to stop playing football. We actually want to encourage people to play football, but at the same time raise awareness of how amazing this machine is.
In September 2015, the Victorian State Government announced they would be rolling out 1,000 defibrillators for sporting clubs. But his home state of New South Wales is not following this move, and Andy Paschalids wants them to put their money where their mouth is.
I've got to say, look, I've been to Parliament twice, New South Wales Parliament. I've met with Liberal people. There's a working party that we're looking at putting together. They are trying to be proactive. I commend them for that. But it's time that the politicians actually listened. It's time. Are they going to react when one of their own suffers?
At the Canterbury Helston Park RSL, Andy Paschalids is working the floor. This is one of his Heartbeat of Football events, and this is where he's networking for support and change. At the event are former representatives from various sports, like swimmer Susie Moroney, Australian netball diamond Shani Layton, rugby league greats Steve Mortimer and George Paponis, former Socceroo Peter Katholos, ex-Australian cricketer Stuart Clark, and former boomer Mark Dalton. So it's not just about soccer. He's also able to connect with the media and most importantly the government. It's all about saving lives.
This is our fourth event in just 4 months, but a significant event today because of the broadness of the sport people that were here. It wasn't just purely football, but we embraced other sports. And I think obviously the highlights having 13 ex-Australian representatives in their sport. The Cahill family engagement was just beyond belief.
Afternoon to everyone at the Heartbeat Foundation, Andy Paschalids. My mum and dad are there. My son's going to sing today the national anthem. Sorry I can't be there, but just wanted to send my support for such an amazing organisation.
In joyful strains they let us sing, Advance Australia Fair.
It's not just soccer, it's all sport that, like people have lost like family and friends and, there have been, unfortunately, people in netball that have suffered as well. So just super grateful that, Andy's put Heartbeat and all of this together and, just want to help out.
If it only saves one life, then how can you put a price on that for somebody's dad or son or brother or mother or sister? It can happen. To anyone at any age on a sporting field. Of course, anywhere it can happen, but particularly when you're playing sport because your body's under stress. So I think Andy's done a great service, not just for football, but I'm sure eventually it will go cross-code, and that's a great thing for everybody.
Linda Burney, the first Indigenous woman to be elected to the Australian House of Representatives, was there reminding the audience of the human toll and the trauma of those left behind.
Particular respects to those families that are here that have had this issue in a very real way. I've just met Peter, who's been acknowledged 1 year. I've also just met Rachel and Aileen, and I'm sure that there are others on the table telling me about your dad. It was a very, very humbling experience. So I think that we keep these wonderful people in mind as you dig deep today, everyone.
Nathan Mark is a living example of how a defibrillator can be the difference between life and death. Today, he's lucky enough to be living on the Central Coast with Tammy, his wife and partner of the last 17 years. But it could have been very different.
It was an occasion just like today behind me. Nathan Mark was playing for his local team in Gosford against Umina. Only moments into the game, he collapsed on the field. It was only through the quick thinking of his teammates and the opposition players that helped save his life.
Then I noticed that the person that was laying on the ground had a knee brace on. Nathan wears a knee brace. And I've said to myself, oh my God, it's Nathan. Ran over. So I leant down and could hear him breathing, and it was the most horrible sound. Honestly, it sounded like he was snoring and he was really gasping for breaths.
Brad looked at me and said, I want to start CPR. And I just looked at Nathan's face and he was absent. So absent in his face, and sort of done our other checks, and I said, let's go. So Brad started the compressions.
For Nathan, luck was on his side as there was a defibrillator there.
So I made sure everyone was clear, pressed the shock button and started CPR again, and we kept that up till the ambulance showed. So we ended up having to shock him 5 times before the ambulance got there, but it managed to keep him going till they arrived.
So we've driven to Gosford, and they've taken me straight in with May into this tiny little room. So it was away from everyone else. It was a little family room, and at the time there was a paramedic in there. And Brad was in tears. And he's just reached out for me and hugged me, and I thought the worst, that he didn't make it. The ambulance drivers to Brad said that at best he's got 20% chance. So, I mean, the support there was amazing. All the way from emergency right through to ICU and the general ward when he eventually got into there. One of the doctors on one of the last days, this was when they had taken the tube out, and I remember the look on his face. He's a little bit older than Nathan, but also plays soccer in the area, and he just basically slumped against the wall with his arms crossed and just shook his head with a look of absolute shock on his face, and he said, "It could have been me. It could have been any one of our teammates."
From early 2017, Heartbeat of Football will be rolling out an education program which will see them hosting a medical tent at local sports grounds. These will provide health and fitness advice, blood pressure and health checks, and will also include CPR training.
Andy's vision is exceptional. I mean, it does take... seeing someone pass away, especially a teammate, and seeing the effect it had on a lot of my teammates, it's a very, very good cause.
If you're in politics, if you're in federation levels and making decisions, money should be allocated for something like that, because this is a great cause, saving people's lives. That's what it's all about.
So, yeah, let's be honest. You know, I can't stress enough to the politicians that we're spending millions in the medical, in that area, in that space. You know, well-being, healthy lifestyles and all that. We've got stats that show that heart disease, heart attacks is so high. So why aren't we doing something through sport, which is an obvious area that needs attention? When is it going to sink in? Is it going to take a politician to collapse playing sport before we start to react?